Rob Caruso, sellersondemand.net. I was talking to an agent yesterday about going after buyer leads. First of all, we got together on a call and we talked a little bit about their situation and what their sort of purpose is to get more business. And as you know, I'm all about getting seller leads and going after listings, which is obviously number one, always will be number one. But there are certain scenarios that it's good to go after buyer leads. I went over this the other day on sort of matching sellers and buyers together. So in other words, you have a seller campaign in a certain area and you have that going for a little while. You get seller leads, you get people who call you for a CMA or evaluation on their home or whatever. And then you also have a buyer lead generation campaign going on, where with this buyer campaign, what you're doing is you're gathering a bunch of buyer leads that are looking for a specific area. And if you have a list of buyer leads, you go to any seller who's looking to sell their property, and you say, well, I've got a list of so many buyers that are looking for a particular home in your area. What you're doing is you're looking like the major authority on the fact that you have a huge list of buyers that are looking for houses in their specific area. So really quick on that, if you're a homeowner and you're looking to sell your property, and you know the market isn't that great these days, it's been kind of slow. It's not as busy as it used to be. And if you're a seller and you want your home sold, all you care about is the buyer. So if you have somebody with a list of buyers, do you care who that agent is, how they look, what they do, what they sort of, say to everybody what they accomplish? Like, oh, I'm the number one agent. You are? Great. Do you have a buyer for my house? No? Then screw off, right? They want a buyer for their house. They don't care about who you are, what you've done, what you claim to do. They just want a buyer for their house. So there's that situation where you definitely want to go after buyers. If you can afford it, if you have the budget, you want to create a seller campaign, buyer campaign, all about one area or the one area that you're focused on, and you want to hit that area hard and get as many possible leads on both ends. So you have two sort of ways to connect the two dots together, right? Buyers and sellers. Okay, that's number one. The agent I was talking to, going back to that, the agent I was talking to yesterday, they live downtown, work downtown, and they don't have that much experience in real estate, to the point where, yes, they could take a listing, but maybe they don't feel as comfortable with taking a listing as they do with a buyer. As we know, buyers are much easier to work with. But the problem today is there's not that many buyers that are able to buy. So they live downtown, work downtown, and if you were to do a buyer sort of campaign for downtown condos, yes, it's scarce right now. There's not a lot of condos selling. There's a lot on the market. I think it's like 7 months of inventory. So let's break it down. If you have a buyer campaign and you're looking for buyers that are looking to buy condos, yes, most of them won't qualify. And we've already gone over this so many times. Buyers do not qualify these days. They like the pictures, they click on the links, they give the information, but 90% of the time they're not even real buyers or able to buy. But who cares? If you have a buyer campaign going on for, say, downtown Toronto condos, or anywhere downtown condos, could be Vancouver, could be any major city in the US that has a lot of condos. And if you're doing an advertising campaign for that area, and needle in a haystack, you have 100, 1,000, whatever leads in your database, and only a small percentage qualify or can buy, what do you care? The whole name of the game is numbers anyway. So if you have so many buyer leads and only a small percentage can buy, isn't that really why we're doing this, is to find those small percentages? So that's number one. Other than the listing buyer campaign, you have a specific buyer sort of downtown condo situation. But there's another type of buyer campaign that you can go after. It doesn't have to be condos downtown. It could be waterfront properties. Like maybe there's a golf course community in your area, and you are looking for buyers in the golf course community, right? You could do obviously a double dip on that one, where you're going after the sellers and going after the buyers. There's so many different sort of niches that you can go after for buyers, that if you do have a specific niche buyer campaign where you're going after that specific buyer, you could have gold in there. You can have a lot of good buyers in there. Again, numbers, right? You're going to get a lot of bullshit, but then at the end, all you're looking for is the select few that are good. So that's my take on buyers and having a buyer campaign. If it's very specific, detailed, niched down to a very specific buyer audience, you will do well. This is kind of what I've been doing for a long time. I mean, I've been doing buyer leads since 2006. So that's it. If you want to do a buyer campaign, there's your 3 different options roughly on how you can do it, where it works. And yes, I go on and on about how going after buyers is bullshit. It's not as good. It isn't, because you're dealing with a lot less potential. But in the end, if that's kind of like what you're able to work with, or that's what you're comfortable working with, or that where you live kind of like doesn't make sense, like the downtown Toronto thing, then switch it to a buyer campaign. More than happy to help you with that. So anyway, you know where to reach me. Talk soon.